Assalamu alaikum guys, welcome to the channel. My name is Farida and today I'm going to be talking to you all about different ways that you could glow up as a mom for 2024. I'm not going to be talking about the basic things like drinking water or taking your vitamins because I think a lot of YouTubers have been talking about it. It's time to get real advice, real life mom advice for mommies who are looking to glow up and reinvent themselves for 2024. So one of the really important things I would say is in reimagining yourself and reinventing yourself is trying to relate yourself to that person that you envision yourself to be. Of course, you're not gonna have a goal without imagining. Like you can't get there without knowing where you want to be exactly. So what I would suggest is think about who that reinvented and reimagined person would be. Think about what you would look like when you reinvent yourself or when you reimagine yourself. For instance, for some people, they want to be more feminine. Some people want to be more elegant. Some people want to be more edgy. Some people want to be really on top of their things and getting everything done as a mom. So it really just depends on what type of mom you are, what you're trying to accomplish as a mom, right? So think about that and kind of hone in on that character. Like find the person that you're trying to be. It could be maybe a celebrity, though it's really hard to kind of find a celebrity you want to be, but it could be a celebrity. It could be someone you genuinely just admire. It could be someone in your community you admire, or somebody from like a story or a book that you've read that you really admire and you want your life to be like that person, or you want to be more of that person and you want to have more of their character traits. Then hone in on that person, I would say, and kind of jot down on what does this person do that makes me want to be them? What does a reinvented and reimagined me look like when it hones into that energy of that person, right? So then you draw into that energy, you tap into that energy, and you kind of think, okay, this is what I want. This is what I want. This is what I want to look like. This is where I want to go. And so that means that every decision you take from then on really wants to reflect that and kind of get into that vibe. Maybe you see a girl that you're like, that girl, she is that girl and I want to be that girl, right? So then you hone into that energy and you're like, what does she do that makes her that girl? Next, you want to ask yourself, like, what does this person do? It could be like a fellow mom who seems to get it all together, but behind the curtains, you don't know. But from the outside, it's motivating, and that's all you're taking from it, right? You're not trying to replicate somebody's life. You're not trying to live someone's life. You're just trying to get that person's achievements to motivate you to also get your own achievements, right? So then you want to ask yourself, what does this person do that makes them them, right? Maybe let's take a persona of someone who's elegant and classy and kind of feminine, that kind of energy, and you find someone who really embodies that energy, and you want to reinvent yourself in that image, right? And then you want to ask yourself, what does this person do that makes them them? Maybe they have their hair sleek and really nice and all put together. Maybe they dress a certain way, or maybe they talk a certain way, they react a certain way. You look into that and you're like, okay, regardless of what's going on, they have a calm sense to them. Or maybe their manners are really nice and kind of calming, things like that, right? Then you hone into that energy and you're like, okay, this is what I want for myself. You could write it down. You could leave yourself audio recordings of that session that you did of reflection. What I sometimes do is I take out my phone and I just record of a thoughtful session that I'm having that I can listen back to later, right? Maybe you record it if you don't want to jot down notes, or if you don't want to have a journaling session. Maybe you record it and you have it so that you can listen to it later, or hold yourself accountable, or just get it off your chest, right? Even if you're not going to visit that audio recording ever again, or maybe you're not going to be reading your journal notes ever again, right? So after doing that, then you want to ask yourself, okay, I have this persona, I have this this image of a person that I want to be, right? Next thing is to really hold yourself accountable to realizing that everything that you're going to do is really going to kind of go into that footstep so that you get those same results. For instance, if that person talks a little bit more elegantly or more eloquently, then you want to ask yourself, okay, do I need to build on my vocabulary? Then you start, learning one word a day from your dictionary, or just like a word that you don't know. Or maybe you start not yelling at your kids or yelling at people and start speaking and resonating and understanding, or listening more. It really just depends on what you can take and implement in your life. Bite sizes. I would not say go ahead and look at someone who's maybe their entire life they've been like that, or maybe they've spent years working on themselves and you just started and you're going to be like, oh, I'm going to be like that tomorrow. That's too drastic, and I think it's not going to last, or it's hard to last. The next thing you want to do to reinvent yourself is incorporate faith-based affirmations. Faith-based affirmations, for me, if you're not someone who's really big on faith, you could just do normal affirmations. But faith-based affirmations is basically taking the time, like for instance, for Muslims, morning prayer, or for Christians, like taking the time whenever you pray to really practice affirmations. Use faith in your affirmations, because I believe when you use faith in your affirmations, it makes them stronger. It makes you connect a lot deeper with your affirmations, because your faith is something that you're already invested in. You've already, like, it's something that guides you, right? And when your affirmations are coming from like your faith, it's just stronger. It's just more likely for you to, like, benefit from them a lot more. So for instance, what I would do is wake up in the morning a little bit, like maybe even 5 minutes more than I usually would, and just wake up in the morning early enough so that you could practice your faith-based affirmations. That would be for Muslims, like praying your Fajr prayer and taking those extra 5 minutes or a little bit even more to really just sit down on your prayer mat and kind of pray, make dua and practice affirmations, or read hadith or dua or Quran, something that really would benefit you. And another thing I would say is, if you believe in God, my scarf is just like, want to show my neck. But one other thing I would say is, if you believe in God, then this is the time to really kind of talk to God. I'm not saying go psycho, okay? I'm not saying go psycho and start talking to to yourself, and I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, if you believe in God, use prayer and talk to God, knowing that God can hear all, and God sees all, and God knows all. Really use prayer and talk to God, and share what's been like so heavy on your heart, what you really wish to accomplish for that day, even if it's not that deep. If you have kids, it's really hard to have the time to like go in depth and really pour your heart out. You could be pouring your heart out, you could have your kids come over and like, mommy, I need you. But I'm not saying spend the entire day sobbing. I'm saying, like, spend some time where you really connect with God. You really connect with a higher power. If you don't believe in God, with a higher power, and just pray and channel in that positive energy and those positive vibes and those blessings, and pray for blessings, and pray for the way that you want your day to go out to be. So my scarf, it just doesn't want to stay. Anyways, guys, if you are Muslim, let me know what you do to make your scarf stay. If you have this kind of scarf style, of course. Let's talk about mommies having mindful hobbies. This could be in various ways. A lot of people think that, in order to have a hobby, you have to be spending a lot of money, or you have to have the time. You could develop your hobbies based on what you're already doing and what you love doing, or what makes you happy. If you don't have a lot of money to go out there and start a new hobby, what you could do is do something at home that makes you happy. You could start doing something with your kids, something that involves your husband, something that involves your kids or your friends. It could be anything that brings you joy. You could start doing something a little bit differently that makes you happy. And that way you have, you know, you feel a sense of accomplishment, basically. Aside from having a hobby, let's talk about being able to have meaningful relationships. Meaningful relationships are really important. I'm not saying, and I don't like the idea, by the way, of individuals right when it's a new year going ahead, going psycho, basically, and blocking everyone. Stop it. Like, I'm not for that culture. I feel like we already live in an individualistic culture where everyone is just on their own. Everyone is lonely and on their own and just kind of like shutting away from the world and basically not benefiting from relationships. Relationships can heal a lot of things, including depression, anxiety, and stress. So I'm not for that culture of going ahead, it's a new year, new me, I'm gonna block everyone, I don't need toxic people. Please, you might be the toxic person. You might be. You could be. You could be the one who's toxic. But aside from that, if you feel triggered, I'm sorry. Don't feel triggered. Anyways, what I really want to get into is the idea that, you know, it's a new year. Yes, practice meaningful relationships. Instead of saying you're going to block everyone from your life and you're going to start living alone, no, maybe start revisiting those relationships that were really meaningful to you and maybe you got too busy to really, you know, nurture. Maybe start nurturing the relationships that bring you peace and start distancing yourself a little bit from the relationships that don't bring you peace. But don't cut people off completely unless you really think about it, because you don't want to be cutting everyone off. What if they cut you off? You know what I mean? Like, what if you're the problem? You don't know. So you have to really reevaluate things and think about it on the bigger picture and start reimagining relationships. This is where I would say make new friendships, make new connections, make new relationships, because they would help you get through life. Relationships are all, it's all what life is about. It's not about living alone and not having an impact and just, you know, coming and going as you came, just you. I think life is a lot more than that. Ooh, that was a little bit deep, but let's not feed into the cancel culture where you just go ahead and block everyone. Please reimagine your relationships, have meaningful relationships, start making new friends, start going out to perhaps the park, the library. If you don't want to invest a lot of money into this, you could go to the library, it's free. You could go to the park, you could go to public places where it's basically free to go ahead. You could take your child in a stroller, walk them, just kind of relax, and that could be your new hobby. I don't know, you know, just kind of relax and find new meaning to relationships, and you might make new friends. Besides from that, you might want to nurture those friends that you have, because what I don't think is interesting is to know that, like, for instance, friendships that just die because they're not nurtured. Then I feel that even if you move on to the next relationship, what's going to happen is it's more likely to die because you don't nurture your relationships. So that's why I'm for nurturing relationships instead of cutting off relationships, and really reevaluating yourself to understand that other points, the other person's perspective, instead of cutting off relationships, right? Aside from that, having meaningful social media scrolling sessions are really important. Look at your social media feed. If it makes you feel like, then maybe it's time to, you know, change your feed a little bit. Follow different people. Follow people that inspire you. Follow people that make you happy. Follow people that motivate you to get up and do things. Follow people that make you reimagine yourself, make you think of that higher person you want to be, and gives you an image of that person. Social media, I think, is for inspiration. When you take it to the point where it makes you feel bad, then you really need to reevaluate your feed, because not everybody's feed makes them feel bad. When I look at my social media, I feel motivated. I feel inspired to want to do things, and then I see how other people are living, and I'm like, wow, that's really cool. Let me start incorporating that in my life. If your social media doesn't reflect that kind of vibe, then you need to reimagine it. But aside from that, I think that sums everything up that I have for this video for you guys. I'm having a banana. Anyways, we talked about a lot of things in this video. I hope that you got some type of value from this video, and I hope you enjoy your day. Bye, guys.